we're gonna pivot now. We're gonna go from food. We're gonna start going into the attractions, and this segment's gonna encompass Web Slingers, the Spider-Man Stuntronic, and the Doctor Strange show. So, Ruby, you win on Web Slingers,
correct?
And what are your without giving too many spoilers or what have you, though? What were your overall thoughts of the attraction? Because this is getting a little more mixed reviews online.
It is fun for what it is. It is, like how you said, a D-ticket attraction. So you have to go in knowing that. It is an elevated version of Toy Story Mania, what everybody was been saying, so on and so forth. The technology, though, is very impressive as far as being able to grab the motions of your arms. We happen to have a friend who actually bought all the attachments.
Oh, nice.
So the phaser, the web slinger, and so we were able to see all of that go off, and it is pretty cool that you're able to see Iron Man's phaser go off and the slinger go off. You do get somewhat of advantage. I think if you use just your regular hands, you basically get one sling. If you have the phaser or the web slinger, you get three webs going off from what I remember. And it does make cool little noises and whatnot. And the phaser is a little fan, so you can just kind of use that throughout the day, especially during the summer.
Now, is like when you say it's the tech is cool with the motion sensor and stuff. Is there any lag? Like, did you notice when you were doing it was like right on the money?
Right on the money, surprisingly. I'm familiar with the Xbox Kinect. So that's what was my point of reference going into the ride, just trying to see if it was going to be up to that or maybe a little bit better. I would say it's a little bit better than the Xbox Kinect, tracking your motion and making sure where you're slinging your arms, that's where your targets were landing.
Cool.
And you notice now the screens that you interact with, are those, I mean, are you familiar with high refresh rate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say that that's accurate?
I would say, yeah. It is better than Toy Story Mania, but not by so much.
Okay.
Because you got to remember Toy Story Mania is from 2008. So they're dealing with much better technology 13 years or 12 years later. So I would say the refresh rate was better than that.
It's probably like 90 or 120 hertz.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Very,
very cool.
Yeah. But
now, go ahead.
I was just going to say that the pre-show, though, is pretty cool with Tom Holland and seeing just that technology being used from Rise of the Resistance with Kylo Ren, now being used with Spider-Man. It was a pretty cool little interaction, but it goes on, I think, a little bit too long for a pre-show.
Okay.
Interesting.
Now I've been watching a lot of like videos on YouTube and stuff of the attraction and what have you. And one thing that kind of got under my skin a little bit, and it might be different when you're actually there experiencing it, but like the lady who's kind of like I don't know if you want to call her like the host or whatever, where she's like talking, interacting with Spider. What's her name?
Sharon.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
A little cringy at times, but it's part of the show. She's like Jarvis. So basically, you have to go into the mindset that Spider-Man has his own AI, and is able to help you throughout the ride. So it is kind of cringy as far as the script that was written for Tom Holland, but it's a kid's ride. You have to go into this knowing that it's really not meant for us. It's meant for those 10-year-old kids who are into the MCU, and that was my mindset going in. I was like, this ride is not meant for me. And
that's the great thing about it, is that there's no height restrictions, so kids, anyone can go on it. That's great for kids.
There is a lap bar, but that's about it. There's no other harness besides that lap bar.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we have to remember, guys. I mean, this took over a very, really when Disney California Adventure opened, there was no family-based attractions whatsoever. That's why they built Bugs Land that they did, and this replaces that. So, of course, they're going to have kind of a family-oriented attraction at first jump, because Disney California Adventure really needs it. And when you look at the plot of land that it's on, I mean, it's not that much bigger than It's Tough to Be a Bug. And so the fact that they were able to give you a pretty solid experience in such a small footprint, you got to give the Imagineers credit. They actually did a pretty good job.
And I think too why it got so much of mixed reviews as far as the attraction goes, because I think a lot of people had that speculation when Disney first filed that patent of that swinging pendulum ride system, and I think people kind of already surmised in their head that okay, that's going to be based on Spider-Man. We're going to get a kick-ass Spider-Man ride, like, and it became this D-ticket attraction, and people were just like, okay, now this is starting to get a little bit underwhelming.
There was a leak. There was a leak a couple of years ago that showed the blueprint of what this attraction was going to be like. It was the Paris version, but it was essentially the same thing as what we got in Disney California Adventure. And so I think a lot of people, if you saw that going into it, you're like, okay, I kind of get what this is going to be. A lot of people didn't, though, and especially when you're just coming off of the a monstrous success of Rise, expectations can be a little bit different. Go ahead, Orange Grove, you were saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, imagine if they combined these two technologies. The web slinging, which is impressive, but then with the swinging pendulum ride vehicle, you're swinging through and you're. I mean, that would have been incredible. I don't know how that would be on the stomach, but dizziness, all that. But I mean, on paper, it sounds pretty fun.
Of what this attraction is, and as I said, whenever we do get that big E-ticket attraction, and as I say, when, not if. I'm saying when because I can't pay for extra therapy. I can't. So we're.
I know, right?
So I mean, it will be a nice, harmonious, collaboration when you have that E-ticket with that D-ticket attraction.
Yeah. The bad thing, though, right now that's happening is I'm getting a lot of questions asked towards me. What's worth it boarding pass wise? Is it worth going for Rise or Spider-Man? And I'm telling everybody, if you haven't experienced Rise, go for that. Right. Rise is such a better experience, such a better ride. If you are just dead set on seeing Avengers Campus, though, and you want to experience that land, you kind of have to go for the boarding pass for Spider-Man. So it's kind of which one do you want to take? And it's hard to compare both rides because one is way better than the other. Sorry to say.
And also, too, I bet you a lot of people, too, were comparing, is this going to, hype up to what Universal has for Spider-Man in Orlando? And it's like, I don't think so.
No, I don't think.
I think Universal set a certain consumer expectation level when it comes to a Spider-Man property-based attraction, and I think that's where the disconnect really is. I mean, if you saw what Hong Kong did with their Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster redo, essentially by Ant-Man and the Wasp and stuff like that, you kind of go, okay, well, those are kind of minor characters compared to the big players in the MCU. It's fitting that they have this type of attraction, and I think Spider-Man being such a marquee character, such an iconic character, I can definitely see where that consumer expectations maybe just a little bit too high. So I would have liked to have seen an attraction like this based on maybe another character that didn't set those expectations so high. That's a
great point, Ray. And also, the comparisons are inevitable, but I think it's less jarring that it's on the West Coast, because I think if this was in Florida, being in Universal's backyard, I think it would be even more of a situation. At least this is like on the other side. It's California. It's so it kind of but still, you can't avoid the comparison. There's just no getting around it. Yeah. You just can't get around it. Now, you did see the Spider-Man Stuntronic too, correct? Right, Rudo?
I did. I saw it probably about 3 times that day.
Wow.
Yeah. How was that in person? Because, I mean, even watching the behind the scenes with the Imagineering story of how they construed this Stuntronic, so to speak, and then to actually see it in person, that had to be...
It's an experience. The one thing that I remember going in, I was watching or read an interview with Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige said when they created this animatronic in this show, is that he wanted it to be almost reminiscent of the first time you saw Tinkerbell in the fireworks show. And he wanted that same magic. He wanted to be like, when you see Spider-Man, you're seeing something special that you're going to go home and tell all your friends about. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, I think this was better than the attraction itself.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now you took some great video of it. I'm going to play a little clip here. of the Spider-Man doing his thing. Oh, real quick, Rudy, I wanted to ask you. So when he's running in the front, in the foreground, that's a real person, right?
That is a real person. So I will tell you right now, there's 3 sections of this little show. So there's the first section where it is an actual stunt actor running around. He's on the side of the building. Then he comes to this centerpiece right here, right underneath this little crane. And he's running, he's doing cartwheels, he's doing some Spider-Man banter with the crowd underneath, telling you guys to hashtag the video, just being Peter Parker. And then you feel the anticipation. You hear him say, "All right, guys, I'm ready to go," telling Sharon, "Let's get this data. Let's make sure Tony Stark sees what I'm doing out here." And then you hear the fling and you see it. And
Awesome.
it's just like, I'll let the video explain it.
Pay attention, it's Joe time.
Here we go.
All right, let's rock and roll, fellas.
God.
Now, if I am correct that each time that he does it, you don't know which pose he's going to do in the air, right? There's multiple poses.
He only did that pose the times we saw him. My friend was there the day before. He didn't get to go into the media preview that day. He was just right outside trying to film what he could. And he actually saw the animatronic fall on its head.
Wow.
So the fact that happened the day on a media day wasn't really up to Disney standards, and he did kind of hear through the whirlwind that they weren't happy that he recorded that, but what can you do?
Wow.
That's a money shot right there. Look at that.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my God.
That's the total hero pose right there with the knee bent and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rudy, do you know
Incredible.
where this thing lands?
I want to say it lands right behind Carthay.
Okay.
That's my only assumption, because if you go a little bit further, you hit right in that weight area. I don't know if you guys went to Buena Vista Street while it was downtown Disney. Do you remember that area where they were selling turkey legs and all those little snacks and the popcorn buckets? That would be too close to guests, my assumption. So
Wow.
I'm thinking it's a little bit closer behind that area, a little bit behind Carthay.
Okay. Interesting. This thing is awesome. I hope this sticks around. I hope this isn't one of those things that they do it like for the season and then it goes away.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is awesome.
No, he only does fly that way. He only flies from right to left.
Okay.
So if you're going, just make sure that you're getting it right in that dead center angle, right where I'm positioned at, so you can see the best of both parts of the show. Because
I was just saying, in a weird way, he's almost like another weenie for the land. You see him from across the park, you know?
yeah, oh yeah, I've heard people say they can see him from the Spider-Man Web Slingers extended queue. Wow. And I've seen or I've heard people say they can see him from Blue Sky Cellar.
Wow.
So those are the points of distance you can see him at if you aren't in the land.
It's just, I mean, when I saw this, you know, we all saw the video, the first video of the Stuntronic doing its thing, and it's just like, it's just mind blowing. It's just like, oh my God, I can't, I mean, you know, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, are they really going to do this? Like, are we really going to see this? This is just like some pet project by R&D and stuff like that. And to actually see it, I mean, it still takes my breath away. It's still like, it just gives me chills to see that they actually did it. You know, you hear all this talk of, oh, they want to do drones and all this kind of stuff, and they actually pulled this off. It's just great.
Well, because I was worried too, because every time that we get concept for Disney, it's like it's one thing and then it turns into the other. And I'm thinking in my head when they were describing this, oh, they're just going to just fling a stuffed doll in the air, and it's like proportion wise, it makes him look much smaller than what he really is. And then it's like, then you have this, and it's like they kept their promise, at least with the Stuntronic of Spider-Man. So I'm glad with that.
It's incredible. So we're going to see now basically what Rudio was referring to, where, you know, it's the animatronic and then the real person emerges. So we're going to go ahead and check that out.
Shout out to Grant Imahara, by the way. It was one of his last projects.
It is really Imagineering at its finest, as far as seeing that. This part is very cool too, as you're going to see what he's able to do. This is Spider-Man right here. This is my definition of it.
Yeah.
Hey, wait up! I'm just gonna jump down and meet you. Here we go. I'll see you right down.
And right here, this is classic Spider-Man, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, it's oh god.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
You see other you see Universal do stuff for so long, and you're like, man, what if Disney could do stuff like that? Just theatrical stuff, just stunt work and wire work and stuff like that. And it's like to finally see it, it's like, oh my god, it's so cool.
It's fantastic, and it really does. I mean, I think each version, the Universal, Marvel land, and the Disney version, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. This is great. I love what they did here with Avengers Campus, where you have all the characters really kind of fleshing out that experience. That was that was a great decision. You had to do it. Absolutely.
You'll see him. He crawls down, and the fact that it's the same Spider-Man that crawls down, and he's doing a meet and greet for 30 minutes right after.
Oh, that's so
cool.
You're having interactions as you are with any of the characters that you're having at California Adventure or Disneyland at the moment, where you're having that personal, just, hey, I just saw you fly. How often do you do that? And he's talking right back to you, just like at Peter Parker. And they do the best. Disney did the best job as far as hiring actors who sound like Tom Holland. Because
cool.
The guy sounded legitimately like a teenage kid, just like Tom Holland. So just the immersion of that is great as well.
It would be the equivalent of during the fireworks, Tinkerbell landing on Main Street and being like, "Hey, everybody!"
With a little wand.
It's so epic.
Yes,
with that voice too. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and.
Of course, you can hear the music. The music is obviously the newer Spider-Man music, and it's just so epic.
Sure.
That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. I love that. I love that thing. I love the animatronic. That is so dope.
And so I'll go back to the operations part of it. So that is, I would say, the initial part of the entertainment as far as how it goes daily. So Spider-Man will be the very first person that you see to do his thing. That is how the day starts with Avengers Campus. Then as you get further into the day, you'll start to see the shows start to roll on. So for instance, the Black Panther army, I can't remember their name.
I think it's the Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje. Okay. They'll come out. They'll be the other act that comes out and does their march in the central area, and then they'll do a little show. And then once they're done, you'll get the Taskmaster versus Black Widow and Black Panther show, and then closer in the afternoon, more towards the night, you'll get the Doctor Strange Sanctum show. And mind you, we didn't get the privilege to see what times these shows were going on, but according to Mice Chat and now the Disneyland app, there's actually listed show times you can see when these shows are going on. So to better plan out your day, you can see when's the best time to go sit out your spot for Spider-Man or for the Taskmaster show.
Nice. Well, and speaking of Doctor Strange, you had a great video in regards to that. Let me go ahead and share that. Let's check this one out.
protected this ancient sanctum. Our reality is safe because of your power. Each and every one of you has great potential in the mystic arts. Thank you. Carry on your journey knowing that you've helped the Avengers more than they will ever know. You're supposed to do a very little time. May the all-seeing eye of Agamotto guide you safely. Farewell. For now.
This is incredible. Is that
my
projection
God.
mapping in that room? That's awesome looking.
That is probably the best screen or a video wall I've ever seen. I think Disney spent top dollar on that video wall because it is just as bright. The sound in the video in this area is top notch. The fact that I was over at Pym Lab and I can hear the sound from the show rumble underneath the floor. when the sanctum opened, it was kind of an event because we just heard everybody crawl over to that area. We saw the doors open from afar, and I'm telling people, I'm like, it was mind blowing, and the fact that I could just feel it in my underneath us is just incredible. And then they do, I want to say, use Dolby Atmos because each one of those little lights or the orbs that is a speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're using the same Dolby Atmos system that they kind of installed in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for here, and
Correct.
when you have this image-based audio, that's got to be sweet.
And that's what really impresses me because it just goes to show that you don't need an amphitheater. You don't need a huge soundstage. That this little section right here can pull off such immaculate sound waves and technology. And this is one of the things I think for me is visiting the land whenever I do. This would attract to me more than actually riding web slingers.
Oh, yeah. I'll flat out say it. This is probably my favorite part of the land at the moment. The fact that there's so much potential for the show to be more than what it is. According to another person who had gone for Media Day, I got a different experience than what they got. So there is a portion of the show where he asks for participation in naming an Avenger. And so he starts asking the crowd, hey, who do you think can hoist such power? And of course, people say the obvious, Tony Stark, Iron Man, got a few Wanda. And then he says, okay, I think somebody from Asgard. And so he opens the portal and there comes Thor.
It's so cool.
That's epic. You know, Disney made real lightsabers. They got to make a real Thor's hammer where it flies across the land and he catches
Stormbreaker. If they can make a Stormbreaker, oh my god.
That'd be cool. Stormbreaker Mjolnir. Oh, that'd be so slick.
Oh man.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, according to they didn't get that experience. They said Thor, and Thor, all they did was open the portal and get an object, but Thor did not come out. So it just depends on what show that you see. We were trying to actually get the show where the sun was completely down, where we can actually see all the lighting fixtures in their best potential. But we waited 2 hours in that line for that day. So we were just happy to get what we were able to get because they only do allow 10 to maybe 12 groups of people in that area for each showtime.
Interesting. And this land is really the perfect land for when they finally jumpstart the new annual pass program, because we do have a lot of people that go weekly, monthly, and the way they've designed the land where you can have changes to the experience. Any new superhero that from an upcoming film can come out of that door. You know, they can change the show 1,000 different ways to bring the latest character out or what have you. I mean, the possibilities are endless with this. Absolutely endless.
Multiverse of Madness. That was what we were thinking after we watched the show. I said, I can't even imagine when that movie gets released, what they possibly bring to this show.
I was so excited for this area. So excited about it. Man, how are they going to do this? You know, how is this going to look epic and amazing in the day, without controlled lighting and everything like that. And they really did a fantastic job. The costumes for some of these characters, by the way, like the Dora Milaje or even Doctor Strange right there, they just look incredible. Like they look really top notch. I mean, Disney spent the money.
Oh yeah, definitely camera film ready or film used. It felt like when I was seeing Captain America and even the new Captain America. I can't believe how we only got that costume a few months ago. Obviously, Disney been holding on to it, but the fact that they were able to bring that costume to life in such a short time. Good job on them.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and they recently brought out the new Loki, right? Where he's in the prison outfit with the neck collar.
Yeah, we didn't get to see that because I think they brought that out Friday or Thursday. So we didn't get to see that. So it's funny how these shows and these movies are going to start adapting to the land, and we're going to see these different variations of their costumes.
Very cool. And what a stark difference from this approach where Loki just came out like a few days ago and they already got the walk around, and then there's been 2 full seasons of Mandalorian and no Grogu in the land. It's just weird that the differences in the approach. I mean, night and day.
Yes, that was the one thing that we were talking about, just entertainment wise. Just why can't they have a lightsaber show? They have a whole area where they can have Chewie, Rey, Kylo, stormtroopers, and there's just nothing.
And it does. It really goes to show you compared to Kevin Feige to, I'm not even going to mention any other names.
We know who you're talking about.
It breaks my heart because that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was built for this. It was built to have shows. And the extent of what we got was really on Media Day, and we never saw those shows again. The general public didn't see them either. But I mean, you saw they released footage of them practicing for the stunt shows of like a Rey figure, battling with stormtroopers. The concept art showed lightsaber fights. Like that's what it was supposed to have. That's the feeling it was supposed to invoke, and to have none of that. I mean, some people have said about Galaxy's Edge, it feels like a dead land. And in comparison to this, I would say that they're absolutely correct in that assessment.
Mind you, this was all pre-COVID. So all this was before social distancing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the fact that they have not been able to integrate like characters from Mandalorian, just having a Mando and Grogu just kind of coming out, scoping out the place and maybe having an Ahsoka or whatever. I mean, we got Vi Marati. Like, come on. I mean, it's in the canon of Star Wars character. I mean, it's like, really? Like, that's who we have?
You have to have read the books or the comics in order to understand that character completely. But it's good on that Avengers Campus isn't stuck to the timeline. The fact that I can see new Captain America and old Captain America standing side by side, just let it be.
Imagine having this conversation with a 2 or 3 year old who might be a Star Wars fan, and you go to Star Wars Land and you have to explain to them why they aren't seeing Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker or Luke Skywalker or Han Solo or anybody that, just imagine having that conversation. How do you explain that?
And especially like at Hollywood Studios when they would have like their Star Wars weekends.
Oh, I know.
They would have all the characters come out at once, no matter what part of the series they were in. And I'm thinking, when Galaxy's Edge is coming out, this is going to be one big land to have there constantly, every single day. And you walk in, and it's a ghost town. It's like, it's so disappointing.
But you know what, though? I appreciated what they did with the Star Wars celebration at Hollywood Studios, but the twerking Boba Fett and stuff was a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, right.
I don't want any of that.
Star Wars hoopla was a little bit too far.
Darth Vader moonwalking and all that is like...
That was a little too far, no question. But, you got to have just a little bit more fun with it. People just want to have a little bit more fun with it. And, George is right. Like when you would have Star Wars weekends and you'd have all those characters come out, I mean, there's no other feeling like it. And you felt that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge maybe can't produce that many characters every single day, but can have a range of characters that you can interact with and some of these smaller shows and stuff like that. And man, some of these characters, they make big entrances, nothing happens, and it's like, man, it's so disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.